Jacob, one of the patriarchs of ancient Judaism and the father of the 12 tribes of Israel. Jacob's journey is one packed with family drama, divine encounters, and life-changing decisions, and his story is told throughout Genesis, chapters 25 to 50. So, Jacob's name has some pretty interesting roots. In Hebrew, Yaakov means to supplant or to circumvent, and that fits his life in more ways than one. But let's back up to the very beginning, his birth. Jacob wasn't an only child. He had a twin brother, Esau, but these two weren't just any twins. While their mother Rebekah was pregnant, she experienced intense pains, and God revealed to her that 2 nations were in her womb. He told her that the older brother would serve the younger. This prophecy set the stage for what's about to unfold. Esau was born first, covered in red hair, but right behind him, literally grasping Esau's heel, was Jacob, as if he was trying to get ahead even at birth. From there, their lives took very different paths. Esau grew up to be a skilled hunter, an outdoorsman, and their father, Isaac, loved him for it. But Jacob was quieter, preferring to stay home, and it was Rebekah who favored him. Now, here's where things get juicy. One day, Esau came back from hunting, exhausted and starving. Jacob, who had been cooking a stew, saw an opportunity. He told Esau he could have some food, but only if he gave up his birthright. Esau, not thinking straight, agreed. Just like that, Jacob tricked his brother out of the birthright meant for the firstborn. Fast forward to when Isaac was old and blind. He wanted to give Esau a final blessing, so he asked Esau to go hunt for some venison and prepare a meal for him. While Esau was out, Rebekah and Jacob came up with a plan. They disguised Jacob to look and feel like Esau by putting Esau's clothes on him and wrapping his arms with goatskins. Since Isaac couldn't see well, he was confused. The voice is Jacob's, but the hands are Esau's. Despite his hesitation, Isaac gave Jacob the blessing meant for Esau. When Esau found out what had happened, he was furious, but it was too late. The blessing had been given. Isaac told Esau that he would live by the sword and serve his brother, just as God had said before their birth. Fearing for Jacob's safety, Rebekah sent him away to her brother Laban's home in Haran. On his journey, Jacob had a dream that would become famous, the vision of Jacob's ladder. He saw a staircase reaching to heaven, with angels going up and down. God reassured Jacob that, despite all his fears, his descendants would inherit the land, and even the mighty nation of Edom would eventually fall to him. When Jacob reached Haran, he saw Rachel at a well and fell for her instantly. He asked her father, Laban, for her hand in marriage. Laban agreed, but there was a catch. Jacob would have to work for 7 years first. After 7 long years, the wedding day came, but Laban pulled a fast one. Instead of Rachel, he married off Leah, his older daughter. In those times, the elder daughter had to be married first. Not one to back down, Jacob agreed to work another 7 years to finally marry Rachel. In the end, Jacob had 2 wives, Leah and Rachel, and through them and their servants, Bilhah and Zilpah, Jacob became the father of the 12 sons who would go on to form the 12 tribes of Israel. However, all wasn't peaceful in the family. Since Rachel's sons, Joseph and Benjamin, were Jacob's favorites, it caused some serious sibling rivalry. Eventually, this tension led to Joseph's brothers selling him off to a slave caravan headed for Egypt, an act that would have huge consequences down the line. And now, after years of being away, Jacob was ready to return home. But on the way back, something pretty mysterious happened. One night, as he was near the Jabbok River, Jacob encountered a strange being. Some versions of the story say it was a man, others say it was God or an angel. Whoever, or whatever, it was, Jacob wrestled with this being all night long. They struggled until dawn, and even though Jacob fought hard, the being managed to touch his hip, dislocating it. This left Jacob with a permanent limp. But here's the thing. Jacob wasn't just going to let this being go without something in return. He demanded a blessing. and in that moment, his name was changed from Jacob to Israel, which means he struggles with God. It's a powerful name because it reflects his ability to wrestle with both divine and human challenges and still come out on top. From that point on, Jacob was the ancestor of the Israelites. He even named the place where this happened, Peniel, which means face of God, because he believed he had come face to face with God and survived. After this intense moment, Jacob finally reunited with Esau. To everyone's surprise, instead of holding a grudge, Esau welcomed his brother with open arms, and the two were reconciled. But their story was far from over. Later, Jacob's sons, out of jealousy, sold their brother Joseph into slavery in Egypt. You probably remember Joseph's story, how he rose from being a slave to becoming Pharaoh's right-hand man after interpreting the ruler's dreams. Years later, when famine hit Canaan, Jacob sent his other sons to Egypt to buy grain. Little did they know, they were about to meet Joseph again. At first, they didn't recognize him, but Joseph eventually revealed his true identity and forgave them. He even invited Jacob and the entire family to move to Egypt. And this is where we get the backstory for how the Israelites ended up in Egypt, which later leads to their enslavement and the story of the Exodus. As Jacob neared the end of his life, he gathered his sons to give them his final blessings. In Genesis, we hear Jacob predicting the futures of his 12 sons, starting with the eldest. Now, Reuben, the firstborn, lost his place of honor because he had slept with Bilhah, one of Jacob's concubines. This dishonored Jacob, and Reuben's standing was greatly diminished because of it. However, Judah, who was fourth in line, received a much greater blessing. Jacob said, "Your brothers will praise you, and your father's sons will bow down to you." This was huge because it set Judah up for leadership. In fact, Judah's descendants would go on to include King David, one of the greatest kings of Israel. When Jacob's time finally came, he made sure that his last wish would be fulfilled. He asked his son Joseph to take his bones back to the family tomb, located at Machpelah near Hebron. This tomb, which was originally bought by Abraham, became the burial place for the patriarchs and their wives. Abraham and Sarah, Isaac and Rebekah, and Jacob and Leah are all buried there. Jacob's other wife, Rachel, had died earlier during childbirth and was buried near Bethlehem. Her tomb has since become a pilgrimage site for women hoping for children. Jacob's story resonates beyond Judaism. In Christianity, he is honored as a saint, and in Islam, Jacob is revered as a prophet, known for his devotion and faithfulness to God. The Quran even tells of Jacob making his sons swear to remain faithful to God. As for the historical accuracy of Jacob's story, scholars place his life around 1800 BCE, though many parts of the story have likely been edited over time. Some remain skeptical about whether every detail can be proven historically, but what's clear is that these stories were shaped by centuries of oral tradition and cultural shifts.